දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, on the edge, the entire Gampaha district placed under curfew. Over 40 infections confirmed from the Palyagoda fish market, but health authorities insist that it still isn't community transmission. Point of contention. The two-day debate on the 20th Amendment to the Constitution begins in Parliament amid protests of the opposition. Market slide. The all-share price index falls 4.21% at the Colombo Bourse. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Wednesday the 21st of October 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammake Kanaka. Let's start off by looking at the pandemic situation. Now, the commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, declares that 5 Grama Seva divisions of the Agalavatta Divisional Secretariat and a Grama Seva division of the Palindanura Divisional Secretariat too have been put under isolation. Earlier in the day, quarantine curfew was imposed on the entire district of Gampaha. What's more, over 40 COVID-19 infections were reported from the Palyagoda fish market as well. The good news is, if there is any, is that the health authorities continue to insist that the present situation cannot be characterized as a community transmission stage.
PCR test results of 49 people attached to the Central Fish Market Complex in Palyagoda, commonly known as the Palyagoda Fish Market, returned positive for the coronavirus today. The PCR tests of 105 traders and their associates at the Palyagoda Fish Market, a hub for fish trade island-wide including the city of Colombo, were conducted on Monday. 46 out of the 49 positive patients are fish traders and the other 3 are their associates. The 49 infected persons are identified as residents of Mattakuliya, Vellampitiya, Angoda, Dematagoda, Grand Pass, Maradana, Maligavatta, Moratuwa, Battaramulla, Koswatta, Kadawata, Handala, Dalugama, Ragama, Kandana and Vattala, as well as Kalaniya. Following the detection of the infections, authorities took steps to temporarily shut the Palyagoda fish market until further notice.
රෝගය මේ මාළු වෙළඳ පොළට ආවේ රැන්ඩික්ස් පොකුරේ ඉන්න රෝගීන්ගෙන්ද නැත්නම් ඒ රෝගීන්ට ද්විතීක ආසාදනයක් විදියට නැත්නම් දෙපැත්තකින් ආසාදනයට යොමු වුණාද කියලා. ඉතින් එහෙම වුණොත් තමයි අපිට ඒක තීරණය කරන්න වෙන්නේ වෙනම පොකුරක්ද නැද්ද කියන එක. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අපිට සමාජගත වෙනවයි කියන්නේ මෙතනට පැහැදිලි සාධකයක් නැහැ. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී අපි දකින්නේ මුළු කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට සංචරණ සීමාවක් පනවන්න ඇඳිරි නීතියක් පැනවීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවය.
2 people residing in the area of Halmulla of Vellampitiya who operated at the Palyagoda fish market were infected with the virus and their relatives were referred for PCR tests. In addition, 78 persons belonging to about 50 families in the Halmulla area have been detected to self-quarantine. Meanwhile, another 4 COVID-19 infections at the Kottava fish market led to its temporary closure. The infected persons have been admitted to the Pimbura Base Hospital in Kalutara. With 6 more COVID-19 patients being confirmed from the Bangalavatta area in Ranmutugala of Kadavata, measures were taken to restrict movements in the area. Among those infected are fishmonger associated with the Palyagoda fish market, his wife and the son. With that, steps were taken to conduct PCR tests on around 200 first line of contacts of the relevant infections. Meanwhile, the officer in charge of Fort Police stated that 2 more police officers of the Western Province Special Investigation Unit have been infected with the virus. They were both associates of the police inspector who previously tested COVID-19 positive. The Fort Police Station, which is also located in the same building as the Western Province Special Investigation Unit, had to be closed for a few hours but resumed duties this morning. Elsewhere in Colombo, the total number of infections from the Colombo dockyard has now increased to 31. Health authorities confirmed that a resident of Alapatha in Ratnapura employed at the dockyard had tested positive for the virus, which had led to the self-isolation of 98 people belonging to 21 families. In the meantime, the director of the Kalubovila Teaching Hospital confirmed that a member of the junior hospital staff has been infected with COVID-19. The staffer, a resident of Dehiwala, had last reported to work on the 15th, and about 40 members of staff identified to have come into contact with him have been referred for PCR tests. On a separate development, 2 patients who were admitted to ward number 46 and 56 of the Colombo National Hospital has been diagnosed with the virus. The infected are identified as residents of Jintupitia and Maradana. In the meantime, a wholesale trader at the dedicated economic centre in Migoda was also confirmed to be an infected COVID-19 patient, which resulted in closure of the business premises while placing 19 of his associates under quarantine. He was admitted to the Jayawardhanapura hospital due to health complications, and a subsequent PCR test had confirmed his diagnosis. Measures were taken to self-isolate his family members. In Gampula, with 2 masons who were engaged in construction work at a temple located in Veyangoda recently being diagnosed with COVID-19, 48 residents of the area were subjected to PCR tests. Test results of 3 of them returned positive today, and they are the 3 children of one of the infected masons. Meanwhile, another employee of the Kahatudu apparel factory has tested positive for COVID-19, and he's a resident of Talagala in Horana. With that, the area public health inspectors took measures to quarantine people from 6 shops and 6 houses the infected person frequented. In the Kalutara district, the total number of COVID-19 infections identified so far currently stands at 52. In addition to the 3 villagers currently isolated in the Matugama area, people of another 400 houses in the district were placed under self-isolation. In more developments, the mother, father and wife of the infected person reported from the Balapitia area have also been diagnosed with the virus. 40 people who attended the funeral house, which was also attended by the infected, have been placed under quarantine, and among them is the chairman of the Balapitia Pradeshya Sabha. In the meantime, the number of infected persons identified so far from the Kuliapita MOH division has increased to 30. More than 1,000 PCR tests were conducted within the division and 30 returned positive. Around 990 of their associates are currently placed under quarantine.
උපපොකුරු ගණනාවක් රට පුරා විවිධ ප්‍රදේශවලින් නිර්මාණය වෙමින් තියෙනවා. මේ පොකුරු බොහෝමයක් අපිට තාමත් අපිට යම් සම්බන්ධතාවයක් මේ මිනුවන්ගොඩ පොකුරත් එක්ක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් වෙලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් සමහර අවස්ථාවලදී අපිට බැලූ බැල්මට මේ රෝගී පොකුරු අතර එකිනෙක සම්බන්ධතාවයක් පේන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක නිසා මේක බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්. සමාජය තුලින් රෝගීන් හම්බ වෙමින් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපි සමාජ ව්‍යාප්තියක් අභියසට පැමිණලා ඉන්නවා කියලා කිව්වොත් යම් කෙනෙක් ඒක මං හිතන්නේ මේ මොහොතේ වඩා වළංගු තර්කය වෙනවා. මේ මොහොතේදී රට වැහිම නෙමෙයි සිද්ධ විය යුත්තේ. මේ මොහොතේදී ප්‍රදේශ සම්බන්ධයෙන් හරි තීරණ ගන්න එක තමයි සිද්ධ විය යුත්තේ.
With the prevailing situation in mind, the police announced today that the entire district of Gampa will be under curfew from 10 p.m. tonight until 5 a.m. on Monday the 26th. Earlier, curfew was only imposed in 19 police areas of the Gampa district.
මේ කොවිඩ් රෝගී රෝග ලක්ෂණ නොවන යම්කිසි ආකාරයක රෝගයක් හදිස්සිය ඇති වුණොත් එවැනි අයට ප්‍රතිකාර ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා රෝහල් වෙත ගමන් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඍජුවම ඒ වගේම ගැබිනි මව්වරුන්ට ඇදිරි නීතියේ සීමාවන් බලපාන්නේ කෙසේ වෙතත් උසස් පෙළ විභාගයට පෙනී සිටින ශිෂ්‍ය ශිෂ්‍යාවන් සිටිනවා ඒ සියලු දෙනාට මේ ඇදිරි නීති සීමාවන් බලපැවැත්වන්නේ නැහැ සම්පූර්ණ ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ කුමන හෝ මාර්ගයක් කරා වාහනයක් ගමන් කරනවා නම් ඒ වාහනය එම ප්‍රදේශයේ නැවැත්වීමට හැකියාවක් ලැබෙන්නේ නැහැ. අද රාත්‍රී 10 සිට මේක ඉතාම දැඩිව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කය තුල ආයෝජන මණ්ඩලයේ විශාල කර්මාන්තශාලා රැසක් පිහිටවලා තියෙනවා. සෞඛ්‍ය බලධාරීන්ගේ උපදෙස් මත ඒ කර්මාන්තශාලා පවත්වාගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. මෙම ප්‍රදේශවල අත්‍යවශ්‍ය සේවා පවත්වාගෙන යන ජලය, විදුලිය, sannivedana සේවා ඒ වගේම ගුවන් තොටුපොළ සේවා එමෙන්ම මාධ්‍ය කාර්ය මණ්ඩල මේ අයට තමන්ගේ හැඳුනුම්පත භාවිතා කරමින් ගමන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. කුලියාපිටිය පොලිස් කොට්ටාශේ පොලිස් ස්ථාන 5ක නිරෝධායන ඇදිරි නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශ 5ක ආශ්‍රිතව. එයත් නැවත දැනුම් දෙන තුරු ඒ ආකාරයටම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා.
What's more, the total number of infected persons emerging from the Minuwangoda COVID-19 cluster has increased to 2,451, with the addition of today's 109 fresh cases. Among the 109 infections are 49 identified from the Paliagoda fish market and 37 from quarantine centres. Meanwhile, 23 are associates of the Minuwangoda factory employees. Accordingly, the total number of coronavirus infections confirmed in the country since the inception of the pandemic shot up to 5,920, from which 2,406 among are currently under treatment. 3,501 persons have completely recovered from the virus to date.
Safeguard hand sanitizer. නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවියකට.
Now, in the meantime, the validity period of driving licenses has been temporarily extended until the 31st of December. Now, the relevant Gazette notification signed by Minister of Transport Gamini Lokuge was published on Monday. The debate pertaining to the second reading of the draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution began today. During the debate, which ends tomorrow, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa requested the opposition to support the amendment, saying that in turn it will give the present government the power to carry out the future development activities of the country. An adjournment debate on COVID-19, meanwhile, will be held on the 23rd.
The Samagi Jana Balawegi today began a motorcade to the parliament, starting from the opposition leader's office to protest the two-day debate on the 20th Amendment to the Constitution.
විසිවන ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව පිළිබඳව පැහැදිලිවම කියලා තියෙනවා කරුණු හතරකට යටත්ව අනිකුත් සියලු දේවල් උනෙන් දෙක බහුතරයකින් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
අපට පුවත්පත් වලින් දැනගන්න ලැබී තිබෙනවා මුල් කැටුම්පතේ නොතිබුණු සමහර කරුණු සංශෝධන ලෙස ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට රජය යෝජනා කරනවායි කියලා. එහෙම මොකුත් නැද්ද?
එහෙම කිසිවක් නැහැ. මම ඔබතුමාගේ අවධානය
දෙන්න.
අද ලබා දෙනවා ඔබතුමන්ලාට අපි යෝජනා කරන කමිටු අවස්ථාවේ තියෙන යෝජනා මොනවාද කියන එක පිළිබඳව. ශේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ විශේෂයෙන්ම හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා ශේෂ්ත්‍ර කීයකටද මේක සම්බන්ධ කියලා. ඒ ශේෂ්ත්‍ර වලට අනනුකූල කිසිවක් අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ නැහැ.
විසිවන ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධන 50 කෙටුම්පතේ සංශෝධන දැන් මේ සුර තිබෙනවා. මේ සංශෝධන වලට අමතරව වෙනස් සංශෝධන ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද?
මම රජය නියෝජනය කරමින් අධිකරණ ඇමතිවරයා වශයෙන් කිසිවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයට ඇරුණාම අද ලබා දීලා තියෙන එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන එක ඊයේ ලීගල් ඩ්‍රාෆ්ට්මන් මාර්ගයෙන් අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙනවා. විධායක ජනාධිපති බලය විධායක ජනාධිපතිවරයාට තියෙන්න ඕන. එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙන එක්කෙනෙකුට තියෙන්න ඕන. මේ දෙකේම මිශ්‍රණයක් ආවා හයිබ්‍රිඩ් ක්‍රමයක්. ඒක තමයි ගරු හිටපු ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියන්නේ එක බස් එකයි ඩ්‍රයිවර්ස්ලා දෙන්නයි. අපිට පේනවා පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයේ සිද්ධ වෙන දේවල් හැම දෙනාම අත හොද ගන්නවා. මම ඒකට සම්බන්ධ නැහැ. අරය සම්බන්ධ නැහැ කියන එක. ඒ අනුව පෙනෙනවා මේ ක්‍රමයට තවදුරටත් ඉස්සරහට යන්න බෑ. ඒ ක්‍රමය අපි නවත්තන්නට ඕන. මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමා කියනවා මේ රටට කරන්න පුළුවන් හොඳම දේ තමයි 19 ඉවත් කරන එකයි කියන එක.
ඇයි ඔබතුමා මේ ඉන්න අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාගේ බලතල සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කප්පාදු කරලා?
ඒක මම බලා ගන්නම්. මම කියන්නේ හරි පාඩිය. අපි ඒක බලා ගන්න. අපේ අගමැතිතුමාට බලය ලැබෙන්නේ ව්‍යවස්ථාවෙන් නෙවෙයි. අපේ අගමැතිතුමාට බලය ලැබෙන්නේ ජනතාවගෙන්. අපේ අගමැතිතුමා මේ ඉන්න කාගේ එතුමාට කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැත්තම් ඕගොල්ලෝ කිඹුල් කඳුළු හෙලන්න කියලා අපි අහන්න කැමතියි.
අපි මේ 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ගැන සූදානම් වන්නේ මේ ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාව තවදුරටත් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න නොවේ. චිරාත් කාලයක් මුළුල්ලේ මේ රටේ ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වුණු ජාතිය ගොඩනගන නව ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ඉක්මනින් ගොඩනගන තෙක් මේ රටේ වැඩ කටයුතු අනුව ඉදිරියට ගෙන යා. මේ දිනවල ඇසෙන පාස්කු කොමිසමේ සාක්ෂි වලින් පෙනෙනවා රට මෙතරම් ආරාජිකත්වයකට 19 නිසා මුහුණ දුන්නාද කියලා. ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව මොනතරම් දුර්වල වුණාද කියන කාරණේ අපි අත්දැක්කා. ඒ නිසා විශ්වගෙන ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට තාවරු කරන විපක්ෂ ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා මේවා සංශෝධනය කරන්නේ සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්නේ කියලා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
ජනාධිපතිවරණයේදී 69 ලක්ෂයක් ජනතාව 19 ගෙන්න පූර්ණ සහයෝගය දුන්නු සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකවරයා පරාජය කළා. ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා ජනාධිපති ලෙස පත් කරගත්තේ එහෙමනම් 19 අවශ්‍ය කරන්න. මහා මැතිවරණයේදී 3 රාජ්‍ය බලයක් දීලා 19 නිර්මාතෘවරයා වන රනිල් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ආසනයක්වත් ලබා නොදී ඉතිහාසයේ අන්ත පරාජයක් ලබා දුන්නේ 19 සංශෝධන අවශ්‍යකරා. සභාපතිතුමනි මම කොළඹට ඇවිත් මාස 6න් ඡන්ද 3,28,000ක් අරගෙන කොළඹින් ප්‍රථමයා සහ දිවයිනෙන් දෙවිනාට බවට පත් වුණේ මම 19ට විරුද්ධ වෙච්ච නිසා. එහෙමනම් කොළඹ ජනතාවටත් අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ 19 අවශ්‍ය කරන්න.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Sri Lanka's ambassador designate to China, Dr. Palitha Kohona, believes that Sri Lanka stands to gain from greater Chinese trade and investment. He adds that Sri Lanka should be seen as a friendly country for Chinese companies. However, Dr. Kohona noted that though Sri Lanka is open to investments from any other country, only China was there to help when the country needed it the most.
Sri Lanka's ambassador designate to China, Dr. Palitha Kohona, calls on Sri Lankan exporters to take advantage of the annual China International Import Expo set to open next month to boost exports. In an interview, Dr. Kohona said that he would prefer to see a number of tea, rubber products, spice and coconut companies, as well as gem and jewellery producers, along with other service providers, including Sri Lanka Tourism and Sri Lankan Airlines, make use of this opportunity to access the Chinese market. Citing the Sri Lankan tea as an example, the former permanent representative of Sri Lanka to the United Nations said it has become a favourable trend among young Chinese consumers. Adding that China is one of the fastest growing markets for the tea, Dr. Kohona said that in 2010, Sri Lanka exported roughly about 1 million kilograms of tea to China, but last year the island exported over 11 million kilograms. He also noted that the Sri Lankan government will formulate a reliable legal framework for special economic zones in Colombo Port City and Hambantota Port, flagship cooperation projects between Sri Lanka and China within the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, which would be attractive to investors from all over the world. While insisting on the need to create wealth, Sri Lanka's ambassador designate to China said that investments and more investments is what the country need. He also refuted claims by some Western countries against China of setting up debt traps in developing countries as sheer propaganda and highlighted that 90% of Sri Lanka's debt is in fact owed to Western and multilateral financial institutions. Dr. Kohona emphasized that Sri Lanka is open to investment from any country, but only China was there to help when the country needed it the most, adding that Sri Lanka should be seen as a friendly country for Chinese companies.
Now, the Court of Appeal has dismissed the writ application filed by MP Rishad Badiuddin's brother Riaj Badiuddin, seeking the prevention of his rearrest by the Criminal Investigation Department. The writ application was taken up this morning, and delivering the verdict, the judge bench decided to dismiss the petition without a fee. Riaj Badiuddin was taken into custody on the 14th of April this year while in Puttlam. After 5 months into the arrest, he was released by the CID on the 29th of September, citing a lack of evidence to file a case against him. In the meantime, an interim petition was filed seeking the Court of Appeal to revoke the writ application put forward by Riaj Badiuddin to prevent him from being rearrested. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has appointed Lord Davies of ABSOC CBE as the new Prime Minister's trade envoy for Sri Lanka. The British High Commission in Colombo said Lord Davies will support the UK's trade and investment promotion objectives through high-level access to Sri Lankan and UK stakeholders, opening doors for UK businesses to catalyse deals that will bring benefits to both countries. Commenting on his appointment, Lord Davies, meanwhile, has said that this is an important role to promote UK exports and to inward investment from Sri Lanka, gathering long-term benefits for both countries. Lord Davies was awarded a CBE for his services to the financial sector and the community in Hong Kong in 2002, where he served as a member of the Hong Kong Exchange Fund for 7 years. He is also an honorary distinguished professor at Cardiff Business School. We will see you shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Sri Lankan shares posted their biggest drop in more than 2 weeks today as all major indices closed in the red, with financial and consumer staples stocks leading losses. The benchmark all-share price index closed down 4.2% at 5,684.67 in its second straight session of losses and biggest intraday percentage fall since the 5th of October. Accordingly, the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks also fell 99.96 points to 2,287.6. The bourse touched its lowest level since the 8th of October and is down 7.3% for the year so far. Now, here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Lockdown in the selective area in the country due to the continuous COVID-19 wave hindered the sentiment of people, and the new cluster of COVID-19 detected in the Meegoda Centre and Peliagoda Fish Market in Western Province, resulting the market falling back to the 2-week low. And market experienced a downtrend in the beginning of the session, predominantly due to the selling pressure in the mid-cap and the small-cap counters, recording in the intraday low of 5,668 and before closing 5,685, losing massive 250 points. And fell 4.21% for the day. And the market turnover was 3.2 billion and the 10 stock gaining and 230 stock falling. The capital good counters continue to lead the turnover, closely followed by the material counter and making a joint contribution of 38% for the day. And for today, we saw the retail activity mainly centered on EXPO Lanka, Tokyo voting and non-voting, and Kottagala plantation. And further, the market recording a low foreign participation dominated by the selling side, resulting a net foreign outflow from the market.
Now, the Sri Lankan rupee meanwhile closed weaker at 184 rupees and 20 to 30 cents to the US dollar today, while bond yields end wider. The rupee closed at 184 rupees and 45 to 60 cents against the greenback at yesterday's close. Now, let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee performed against other major currencies during the day. COVID-19 cases in some European countries look to be on the rise, with both the UK and Russia recording their highest infections within the last cycle. Meanwhile, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro refuted the Sao Paulo governor's revelation that a nationwide immunization program is to be launched using the Chinese-made COVID-19 vaccine CoronaVac. President Bolsonaro took to Facebook to deny that his government plans to purchase the Chinese vaccine for what was expected to be one of the world's first national immunization programs.
The COVID-19 pandemic situation in Europe appears to be worsening as cases continues to soar, with the UK and Russia setting their highest daily coronavirus cases in the last cycle. Accordingly, the UK recorded 21,331 COVID-19 infections, its highest rise in a single cycle. Following this uptick in cases, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced yesterday that Greater Manchester will move into a Tier 3 lockdown, the highest level of COVID-19 restrictions, starting midnight on Thursday. The Tier 3 restrictions will see the closure of pubs and bars in the region unless they serve substantial meals. Elsewhere, Russia registered 16,319 COVID-19 cases over the last cycle, setting a new all-time high as the epidemic rebounds in the country. Along with many other European countries, Russia has been witnessing soaring COVID-19 cases in recent weeks after many restrictions were lifted and people resumed gathering in large groups. Meanwhile, Brazil's health ministry announced recently that they are planning to use a Chinese-made coronavirus vaccine as part of a national immunization program. This was revealed after Sao Paulo Governor João Doria stated that the federal government has agreed to buy 46 million doses of China's coronavirus vaccine. Governor Doria said the immunization program could begin as early as January 2021, making it one of the first such immunization efforts in the world. However, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro seemed to contradict the Sao Paulo governor, stating in a Facebook post that his government will not purchase the Chinese COVID-19 vaccine.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.